Good, good, good morning. Almost noontime. Forgive me, it's the 28th of December. I got the other show done in the early mornings in the dark, and I kind of forgot about this. Some things came across my mind during the night, and these things seem to be pretty important, and that is that there is a fallacy. Welcome to Awakening Israel. My name is Dr. John Taylor Kent. I am a retired psychologist. My last job was in corrections. My health took me out of the practice of psychology, and reading the Bible for a few years gave me my health back to a large extent. Not fully, though, and I readily acknowledge that. I probably should kind of keep it to myself, because I really prefer that people didn't realize that I had problems, but what the heck. I think it's more important that I tell you the truth, that I was taken out of it so badly that I panicked. I got out my Bible and I sat and I read for months. And in reading my Bible and rereading it, my short-term working memory got started again. Nowhere near as strong as I once was. And so I have some difficulties. But you wouldn't know it, I don't think, unless I told you. But you also wouldn't hear that it was because of the Bible that I was able to make this recovery and able to do what I do today. Yesterday we worked on passages from my old NIV study Bible, and we were discussing how the United States, or America today, is mentioned in the Bible, and the big tips as far as the cursings for disobedience. Basically, that's what we're going to cover today. We covered Leviticus yesterday. Today we're going to do Deuteronomy. But the thought that crossed my mind, and what I need to tell you, is that we need to dispel this falsehood, the lie that we are not to judge. Who am I to judge? Oh, don't you dare judge me. Look, folks, you got to judge. And the stuff about not judging, that's from churchianity. That's from your big corporate churches on the street corners, which really don't give a damn about you. It's just another business. That's all it is for them, complete with retirement programs for the pastors. Don't get me wrong, I think the worker is entitled to his wages. I mean, he's earned his wages, you can't deny him that. But what we have to become is a Bible-speaking people. In order to get there, we have to be Bible reading. So most of us put garbage in, and we get garbage out. But when you read the Bible, you access, in my opinion, you're accessing the mind of Creator, Father, Yahweh, God. And I think that's the only way to get there. Now, not the only way. And I've got an individual to introduce you today. His name was Nicholas van Rensburg. Signer van Rensburg. I just got his books. I think that's what I have here. I'm not very far into reading it. I had a short 13-page PDF, which I put up earlier this morning after reading it Christmas Day. And then I decided I didn't have enough. I wasn't satisfied with what was in front of me because I knew of other prophecies that were not mentioned in these 13 pages. And the most important one being about the United States of America. That being... Lorraine, quiet. Come on, come here. Come on up here. Come on. Might as well say hi, huh? My last dog would not give me kisses. This one won't stop. Okay. She's only a year old. Spoiled. My fault. The thing is, she understands English pretty good. My auto mechanic was teasing me one day and walked in and said, That was an ugly dog. And oh my God, did she snarl at him? She knew what he meant. And then he put his mechanic that was working on my car up to it. A few minutes later, he comes walking in and tells me it's an ugly dog. Oh, shoot, she growled at him too. I think it kind of shocked them. Anyway, I didn't say anything. I was dumbfounded. But the dog, I mean, she doesn't like to be heard. That she's not pretty. She thinks she's pretty. I tell her that all the time. Yes, you're a beautiful girl. Yes, you are. We're supposed to judge. Not only that, we're supposed to judge the angels. Now, hold on to your hats, folks. That's our future job. That's our destiny. We will be judging these fallen angels that are running around the planet, wrecking it today for all of us. There's a wonderful Coke commercial that's being passed around on Facebook today. It's very symbolic. You need to understand something. The menorah is not their symbol. It's not a Jewish symbol. It came from somewhere. Yes, it's a very old symbol. As a matter of fact, the evidence that we have is it dates back about 12,000 years. And this symbol is in the caves, in the art on the walls. You know, the ones with the animals, the ones with squatting men, and other things that they saw in the atmosphere that drove them underground so they could survive. The menorah was one of those plasma displays of the end of the Earth Age. Now, the two missing prophecies here in the first 13 pages were that our second civil war would start in the middle of the country. And while we are fighting among ourselves, we would be attacked from the outside. And within 24 hours, we would lose our armament and never be a superpower again. Now, I don't like that prophecy very much, but it wasn't in those first 13 pages. And I was just reading and I remembered, hey, I hadn't done this yet today. I hadn't done my job yet today. And we got a lot to cover. It's not going to be short. I'm sorry. And I realized here I am sitting enjoying reading this, and I got to get my job done, my duties done first. I did get up early in the morning. It's raining and it's not a very pleasant day. Even the dog is kind of shut in and feeling it right now. We both are. It's continuing to rain. It's going to rain for a solid week. This area will become no longer desert in short order. It will become tropics at some point. But when the earth actually does shift, which will happen in about 2046, I thought it was 2042. It looks like it's going to be 2046. When the earth shifts and rotates, it's all over in many ways for most of us. In my vision, I was there at Golgotha. Or what appeared to be that. It wasn't Golgotha. I don't really know what it was. And there were two Roman soldiers who put up Yahshua the Messiah on the cross, lifted him up, and dropped that stake into a hole in the earth. And the moment they got that thing up off the ground and it went into the ground, at that point it was like a key going into the earth, unlocking the earth. And at that point, both of these Roman soldiers got on either side of that cross, and they got down on one knee apiece and put their hands in a prayer position and looked up. And they were horrified because the earth was rotating. And they stayed there looking at the figure on the cross that they had just put up there, hung up there. And the earth rotated in short order so that that little postage stamp of a country in the Middle East shifted completely to the North Pole. In other words, all the attention of this planet was upon the man hanging from a tree upon the crucified one. Yeah, I get these visions. Some of them I remember, much of them I don't. I consider them somewhat bothersome. Sometimes I get the future, and I've learned that there's a little bit of time lag, and I've accepted that it actually can change. I've watched it change. Have interfered in it and changed it. And sometimes I interfered in a really nice dream coming my way, and I kind of bungled it. Okay. Steiner von Rendsburg. I keep on wanting to call him Rensinger, but I didn't learn his name very well several years ago, and I knew a fellow that was talking about his prophecies. And listened to him maybe 5 years ago, maybe 8 years ago. So I want to bring you to the fact that both PDFs are now up on my blog, givingpsychologyaway.com, underneath Steiner van Rensburg. You go there. I put some qualifications on it. I have not read the longer one. I read the shorter one. I wasn't satisfied with it. I disagreed with the characterization of it being the end of time, or end of the world. It is the end of an earth age. Now, this myth about we're not supposed to judge and it's not Christian to judge somebody else, bovine excrement. You've got to judge. You've got to be a better judge. I do too. You know, we've got to be a little bit more cautious and be a lot more wary, especially as the civilization deteriorates. And that is what's going to happen until we're about as far on the other side of this earth age, the birth of a new earth age, if you will, the beginning of the new earth age as we are from it today. So here we are, 2022. We're looking at 24 years, 22 to 24 years, somewhere around there. Could be a little longer. And so we'll have to be that many more years on the other side, 2060, 2070, before things really get solidified into place. This is what has to happen to keep this planet together and the way it's supposed to go. That's the way it was designed. And so we have already come above the equator of the Milky Way galaxy. Our solar system has risen above the equator. I think that's the case. That's what the Mayan calendar ended on. Many think it was Christmas Day. Some think it was the year 2000. We have to remember calendars have been changed. But those folks back there were so brilliant that they calculated all this out and they gave it in carving. They put it in stone for us because they wanted to survive the ages. They left it there. They put it there for us. Just like the people in Teotihuacan down in South America, they left stuff up there for us as well. They showed us that it's our own sun that attacks us. And remember the name of the angel from the pit, Apollyon, Apollo, Abaddon. In Hebrew, Apollyon in Greek, long version of Apollo, the pit, the angel that controls the pit, that throws lightning balls like on high to the earth, just like Satan fell to the earth. And Yahshua warned us in the middle of a passage about that. It's out of context. It's out of context for a reason. It's to draw our attention to it. Because he goes on with the same speech beforehand. It's like it interrupts the thought, and then all of a sudden, he's back into the subject again. Go look it up. It's in the New Testament. Look, I just have one product. This is my own Bible. I've probably bought more of these than I've sold. I'll admit I haven't been very successful on this channel yet. But I need you to buy my Bibles. I'm not asking for donations. I got one. Okay. And I appreciate that. I got to thank the gentleman. I don't think I know him. I got a breakdown, and it's got the name on it, but it was really a healthy donation. I mean, it was not to me, it's a significant amount of money. Now I'm obligated to use it wisely. Okay, fine. And I do want to appeal to you for some more money, by the way. I got a brilliant idea. It's a brilliant idea. I don't know if I can do it. I want to get a sponsor, if you will, someone who will pay for the printing of the Apocrypha books. I need to have 3,000 people in order. I need to have a market. If I have 3,000 people, then we can do it. But I don't want to stop at the 3,000 mark, because then it's not going to be on the better paper. It's not going to be of the quality and integrated the way I want to do it. I really want to do it right. And so I'm looking for 5,000 people to commit to buying it. And you can commit by emailing the publisher at Name Publishing, even calling them up on the phone, putting your name on a list. Get your name on a list. When we get up there at 5,000, and then, 6 months after that, we're going to have it. It's going to be beautiful, too. However, I kind of like to, it's a big idea. Somebody out there has got a whole lot of greenbacks, and greenbacks are losing their value quickly, and you don't know what to invest it in. So I'm going to ask you to consider investing in God's Word. I would really like you to call up my publisher and set up an arrangement, set up a deal, make a commitment. And I want a lot. I do. I want a lot. I would appreciate if somebody would commit to 5,000 Bibles. And the arrangement could be funded, predicated upon return of investment at the earliest possible, opportunity. So maybe you would get priority. I think that would be pretty cool. So as they're sold, you're going to get the money until you get what you need, until you get what you want. These are going to be large print, black leatherette. I've asked for family pages to put in the front of this particular edition. And you may not know this, but it used to be that your marriage license was your family Bible. You recorded your marriage in there, and if you had a problem or you had to go to court for any reason at all, the family Bible was admissible as evidence in court. That's the way it was until about World War II. And so you recorded your marriages, you recorded births, you recorded deaths in your family Bible. And I think that's a tradition we need to go back to, because we need to downsize these corporate governments. We're going to do that. Otherwise, they're going to destroy us. It's a war of self-defense. It's not a rebellion. But in order for it not to be a rebellion, get your Bible, read it, pray to Yahweh, ask Him to show you the way for your life so that you can work out your salvation. Your path is different than mine. It is set up, it's going to be set up differently. And as much as you may choose where you're going to go, it's Yahweh, Creator, Father, that sets your steps. That's all there is to it. That's what it comes down to. Does the same for me too, okay? Now, there is a national salvation, and right now the nation's been judged as not being very good. We've let this government of ours get completely out of hand, way out of hand. And so we are all subject to the national judgment. At this point, I don't know if it's salvation or not. I certainly don't think we deserve it. And then we have individual salvation. And you do that by following the will of Creator Father Yahweh. It's a personal relationship. I know you hear that in the big box churches, and I'm sorry for saying it quite like that, because I don't want to give you some magic formula where you just have to utter the words, I believe, and he's this, he's that, and I take him and all, and then that's it. Because I don't believe that. I believe, yes, you go through that, but in witness to that, and as a result of that, you abide by those 10 commandments as best you can. Sometimes you might find one in conflict with another. Okay, you got to pray. You got to do the best you can. And you follow the example of Yeshua. Yeshua's example is very clear. He said, I don't do anything outside of the will of the Father. I don't do anything without my Father. I do my Father's will, my Father's work. That's the example. And by the way, he didn't call it Christianity. He said, the faith of our fathers. I rather like that. I hope you do too. If it's good enough for Yeshua, Jesus, it's good enough for me. Then he also said he was the way. Okay. The apostles and those disciples who were following him followed the way. That's what they called it. That's what they called their path as well. So I think that befits it even better. And most of the time that we have the word Christ mentioned in the Bible, it's not properly translated. It should be Messiah. And that's what this Bible gives you. Now, before you go thinking that there's no mention of Christ in here, that's not true. There are some mentions of Christ in here. Christians. It was a slur word. It was a racist term. It was a derogatory term. And they were first called Christians at Antioch, but not by each other. They were called that by the pagans that surrounded them, by the Roman pagans. They called them Christians. Now, just so you can put it in context, choose your favorite swear word if you want, cuss word, and use that for a little bit. And then you'll get the flavor of, oh, Lord, they weren't being, it was not a compliment, okay? I mean, even Festus told Paul, my God, you almost convinced me to be a Christian son of a gun. Okay? You almost convinced me to do that. So I just want to put that in context. Same with judging. That's got to be in context. There's a woman that came up on Facebook this morning. I usually don't follow her stuff very much, but it was pretty important there, and I've lost it. It's gone. But she had about a dozen things saying you're going to judge this, judge that, judge the spirits, judge each other, judge. She missed one. She missed in the New Testament where don't you know that that you will judge angels? That's in there. I think Paul wrote that in one of the small letters. Okay. And she ignored 85% of the Bible or more by not looking to the Old Testament books. All right. If I can find somebody that's willing to commit, and I've got a figure in mind for this Bible, I think to be able to cover the cost, that it's going to be offered at about, well, I think we're going to use a bunch of sevens. 77, 4 sevens. I think that we're going to be using that. It could be as little as 57, 77, as much as 77. I get carried away with the repetition of it. It makes me slip a little bit upstairs and go, what? Well, it gets my attention. So if I can get somebody to cough up, somebody to spot the money, somebody to donate the money, somebody to invest that money, then 6 months later I'm going to get my Bible. And I'm really looking forward to getting the Apocrypha. Links in the description below. Go there and you'll find 5 different formats of the Bible. There is a tab version. Get it. If it's the first Bible, get it. It's just a few bucks more and it'll make it easier for you. I don't have tabs. I bought this formatted version when it was on sale, and it was the cheapest one available. Okay, I'm on a budget. I really want to turn this nation into a nation of Bible readers. I think it's very, very important. So important, I'd like to turn to the NIV version. There's a few advantages on the NIV and there's some disadvantages. So at this point, we've already covered, I should clean these glasses, huh? It's my reading glasses. We've already covered Deuteronomy, Leviticus. We're going to go to Deuteronomy. And Deuteronomy, I think it's about chapter 28, 26, if I remember from yesterday. Nope, not quite. Dog-eared here, so it's got to be one of these dog-eared pages. Yes, okay. I was going to brag and say I remembered it from yesterday. Deuteronomy. As you can see, my old Bible that's tabbed up, I used this in Bible college, and they didn't appreciate it because they wanted me to learn where the books were at, and they regarded it as cheating. And I thought, well, I spent some money on the tabs. I spent a lot of time lining these tabs up and attaching them to the pages, and I wanted to understand the Bible. I had to study it, and this idea that you're not gonna write in the Bible because it's holy. What kind of study is that? And the other thing is that I'm kind of hard on these books. The bindings, this one's lasted. It's really done well. The Zondervan ones I bought, I broke the bindings on 2 of them. The first one only lasted 9 months, hardback, and I broke the bindings. Okay, Deuteronomy 28. And we have 2 sections. One's entitled Blessings for Obedience. The other is Curses for Disobedience. You're going to find it's a lot longer on the curses than the blessings in Deuteronomy. Leviticus was shorter. There are only twice the curses to the blessings. In Leviticus and Deuteronomy, it's a lot longer. And we're going to go through that. And that you can see I deface it, if you want to call it that. But I study it. I highlight it, and then I use ink. Red ink, blue ink, green ink, black ink. If I have to, I'll go to something else just to draw my attention to it. Sometimes I use a ruler to underline it. Sometimes I'll put a little cross in the margin, meaning it's an important thing, and it's a plus, so I put a plus there. Or I'll put a minus, meaning this is pretty bad. Or I'll put an asterisk, meaning this is super important. So I've got my little symbols. There's an asterisk right there. The alien who lives among you will rise above you higher and higher. If that ain't the fact today. And by the way, the reason we're covering this, and we haven't even covered the 10 Commandments. The reason we're covering this is because when I read this, I read my nation. I read the beginning of my nation, and I read my nation today, and it is not good. See if this doesn't remind you of the status of our nation. Blessings for Obedience, chapter 28, Deuteronomy, verse 1. If you fully obey the Lord your God and carefully follow all his commands I give you today, the Lord your God will set you high above all the nations on earth. All these blessings will come upon you and accompany you if you obey the Lord your God. You will be blessed in the city and blessed in the country. The fruit of your womb will be blessed, and the crops of your land, and the young of your livestock, the calves of your herds, and the lambs of your flocks. Your basket and your kneading trough will be blessed. You will be blessed when you come in, and blessed when you go out, going out, coming in from war. The Lord will grant that the enemies who rise up against you will be defeated before you. They will come at you from one direction, but flee from you in 7. The Lord will send a blessing on your barns and on everything you put your hand to. The Lord will bless you in the land he is giving you. The Lord will establish you as his holy people, as he promised you on oath, if you keep the commands of the Lord your God and walk in his ways. And all the peoples of the earth will see that you are called by the name of the Lord, and they will fear you. The Lord will grant you abundant prosperity in the fruit of your womb, the young of your livestock, and the crops of your ground, in the land he swore to your forefathers to give you. The Lord will open the heavens, the storehouse of his bounty, to send rain on your land in season and to bless all the work of your hands. You will lend to many nations, but borrow from none. The Lord will make you the head, not the tail. If you pay attention to the commands of the Lord your God that I give you this day and carefully follow them, you will be always at the top, never at the bottom. Do not turn aside from any of the commands I give you today, to the right or to the left, following other gods and serving them. So don't go left, don't go right. Isn't that funny what we have going today? And by the way, when Jonah complained to Yahweh that he didn't want to go, preach to those people, he didn't want to go testify, he didn't want to save them. He didn't want to save Nineveh. And what was Yahweh's response? He has 100,000 people there that don't know their left hand from their right hand. In other words, these are people that don't know what to do. And they're innocent. And Yahweh sent Jonah. They repented. And Yahweh repented of the evil he had planned to bring upon Nineveh, one of the oldest inhabited cities on the earth, which actually, I believe, survived the last earth age, the transition. That's why they're in there destroying those winged griffins, those big giant statues, because we can't do those things today. It just showed that the civilization that did those, produced those, was superior to what we have today. We probably could do that, but everybody would want to know, how the heck did they do this back then? They didn't have, they had more equipment, more machinery, more technology than we have today. And here we have it, you will lend to many nations, but borrow from none. Oh boy, what nation do we borrow from? Rothschild land. That's what that little postage stamp of a country in the Middle East really should be called, is Rothschild land. They are not the descendants of Israel the man. And they know that. Curses for disobedience. Does this remind you of our nation today? However, if you do not obey the Lord your God and do not carefully follow all his commands and decrees I am giving you today, all these curses will come upon you and overtake you. You will be cursed in the city and cursed in the country. Your basket and your kneading trough will be cursed. The fruit of your womb will be cursed. The crops of your land and the calves of your herds and the lambs of your flocks. You will be cursed when you come in and cursed when you go out. The Lord will send on you curses, confusion, and rebuke in everything you put your hand to. Man, look at that government in D.C. Especially the current administration. Until you are destroyed and come to sudden ruin because of the evil you have done in forsaking him. Sudden ruin. You haven't seen anything yet. It's coming. The Lord will plague you with diseases until he has destroyed you from the land you are entering to possess. The Lord will strike you with wasting disease, with fever and inflammation, with scorching heat and drought, with blight and mildew, which will plague you until you perish. The sky over your head will be bronze, and the ground beneath you iron. The Lord will turn the rain of your country into dust and powder. It will come down from the skies until you are destroyed. The Lord will cause you to be defeated before your enemies. You will come at them from one direction, but flee from them in seven. And you will become a thing of horror to all the kingdoms on the earth. Your carcasses will be food for all the birds of the air and the beasts of the earth. The great supper of the Lord involves a lot of birds of the air. What you folks wrongfully call the rapture, I call the raptor. Because if you read that chapter, I think that's in the book of Luke, where, one's taken, the other one's left, you think it's the rapture. Well, it turns out what's really going on is that those people being grabbed up are being fed to the vultures, to the eagles. Read the last verse of the chapter. And then realize that that leads you to the great supper of the Lord in Revelations. I think it's chapter 19. Don't hold me to that. But the great supper of the Lord, in which the birds of prey feed upon the flesh of the generals and the kings and all kinds of people of high status. And so the weeds, the tares will be lifted up out of here. We're not going to be pulled up off this earth. Some of us might get to join up with him. Who knows? We'll cover that at some point. The Lord will cause you to be defeated before your enemies. You will come at them from one direction, but flee from them in seven, and you will become a thing of horror to all the kingdoms on earth. Even the Haitians don't want us back there. Your carcasses will be food for all the birds of the air and the beasts of the earth, and there will be no one to frighten them away. The Lord will afflict you with the boils of Egypt, and with tumors, festering sores, and the itch from which you cannot be cured. The Lord will affect you with madness, blindness, and confusion of mind. At midday you will grope about like a blind man in the dark. You will be unsuccessful in everything you do. The day after you will be oppressed and robbed with no one to rescue you. Day after day you will be oppressed and robbed with no one to rescue you. It happened to me with my inheritance in Texas. It's ongoing right now. It's in the courts. You will be pledged to be married to a woman, but another will take her and ravish her. You will build a house, but you will not live in it. You will plant a vineyard, but you will not even begin to enjoy its fruit. Your ox will be slaughtered before your eyes, but you will eat none of it. Your donkey will be forcibly taken from you and will not be returned. Your sheep will be given to your enemies, and no one will rescue them. Your sons and daughters will be given to another nation, and you will wear out your eyes watching for them day after day, powerless to lift a hand. A people that you do not know will eat what your land and labor produce, and you will have nothing. Where have we heard that before? But cruel oppression. Well, we were told we'd be happy, right? Yeah, the reset. Oh, that guy's last name should be Rothschild. His grandparents were Rothschilds. Klaus Engelschwab. You will have nothing but cruel oppression all your days. The sights you see will drive you mad. The Lord will afflict your knees and legs with painful boils that cannot be cured, spreading from the soles of your feet to the top of your head. The Lord will drive you and the king you set over you to a nation unknown to you or your fathers. There will be worship. There you will worship other gods, gods of wood and stone. You will become a thing of horror and an object of scorn and ridicule to all the nations where the Lord will drive you. You will sow much seed in the field, but you will harvest little, because locusts will devour it. You will plant vineyards and cultivate them, but you will not drink the wine or gather the grapes, because worms will eat them. You will have olive trees throughout your country, but you will not use the oil, because the olives will drop off. You will have sons and daughters, but you will not keep them, because they will go into captivity. Swarm, and we are in captivity. They superimpose another jurisdiction on us. You're considered a citizen of the United States rather than a citizen of your state. You're no longer a landed citizen. They set you out at sea and declared you basically dead to rob you of your inheritance. They give you all those numbers and sell that stuff. There's all kinds of stuff going on that I don't even know about and understand. I don't major in evil. Let me go back to this. Swarms of locusts will take over all your trees and the crops of your land. The alien who lives among you will rise above you higher and higher, but you will sink lower and lower. He will lend to you, but you will not lend to him. He will be the head, but you will be the tail. All these curses will come upon you. They will pursue you and overtake you until you are destroyed, because you did not obey the Lord your God and observe the commands and decrees he gave you. I gotta take it easy. My blood pressure's getting to me. I can feel it right here. Because you did not obey the Lord your God and observe the commands and decrees he gave you. They will be a sign and a wonder to you and your descendants forever, because you did not serve the Lord your God joyfully and gladly in the time of prosperity. Therefore, in hunger and thirst, nakedness and dire poverty, you will serve the enemies the Lord sends against you. He will put an iron yoke on your neck until he has destroyed you. The Lord will bring a nation against you from far away, from the ends of the earth, like an eagle swooping down, a nation whose language you will not understand. A fierce-looking nation without respect for the old or pity for the young. They will devour the young of your livestock and the crops of your land until you are destroyed. They will leave you no grain, new wine, or oil, nor any calves of your herds or lambs of your flocks until you are ruined. They will lay siege to all the cities throughout your land until the high fortified walls in which you trust fall down. They will besiege all the cities throughout the land the Lord your God is giving you. Because of the suffering that your enemies will inflict upon you during the siege, you will eat the fruit of your womb, the flesh of your sons and daughters the Lord your God has given you. Even the most gentle and sensitive man among you will have no compassion on his own brother or the wife he loves or his surviving children. And he will not give to one of them any of the flesh of his children that he is eating. It will be all he has left because of the suffering your enemy will inflict on you during the siege of all your cities. The most gentle and sensitive woman among you, so sensitive and gentle that she would not venture to touch the ground with the sole of her foot, will begrudge the husband she loves and her own son or daughter, the afterbirth from her womb, and the children she bears. She's going to begrudge. For she intends to eat them secretly during the siege and in the distress that your enemy will inflict on you and in your cities. If you do not carefully follow all the words of this law, we aren't done yet, which are written in this book, and do not revere this glorious and awesome name, the Lord your God, the Lord will send fearful plagues on you and your descendants, harsh and prolonged disasters, and severe and lingering illnesses. He will bring upon you all the diseases of Egypt that you dreaded, and they will cling to you. The Lord will also bring on you every kind of sickness and disaster not recorded in this book of the law until you are destroyed. You, who were as numerous as the stars in the sky, will be left but few in number, because you did not obey the Lord your God. Just as it pleased the Lord to make you prosper and increase in number, so it will please him to ruin and destroy you. You will be uprooted from the land you are entering to possess. Then the Lord will scatter you among all nations, from one end of the earth to the other. There you will worship other gods, gods of wood and stone, which neither you nor your fathers have known. Among those nations you will find no repose, no resting place for the sole of your foot. There the Lord will give you an anxious mind, eyes weary with longing, and a despairing heart. You will live in constant suspense, filled with dread both night and day, never sure of your life. In the morning you will say, if only it were evening, and in the evening, if only it were morning, because of the terror that will fill your hearts and the sights that your eyes see. The Lord will send you back in ships to Egypt on a journey I said you should never make again. There you will offer yourselves for sale to your enemies as male and female slaves, but no one will buy you. And by the way, this is what happened, and this is what's happening again. History does repeat. We don't learn from the past. Or do we? I mean, you're here with me. We're covering this stuff right now. I'm comfortable that it'll go well for you. But I just don't know about the nation as a whole. And remember, there is national salvation, national judgment, and we're stuck with that. So if by chance God decides this is Sodom and Gomorrah 2.0, he just might do what he did to Sodom and Gomorrah. And if you've been with me, you'll know that he nuked those towns. He nuked them way back then. Do you think he could do that again? And by the way, if we translate some of those words and look into them in the middle of the Bible and the minor prophets, we find out that they mean sacrificial fire in one of the remote meanings for what we call women in the basket. Sacrificial fire in the basket, in the missiles. Yes, the nuclear war is written here in the Bible. It's in the Old Testament. You know, the one they say has been done away with, the one they say it's all been fulfilled, that's old hat, none of that's going to happen again. Most of the future is in this Old Testament. So when you're worried about the end of the world and the return of the Messiah, we got a long ways to go. That's what I can see. It's what my older brothers who know better than I tell me. But Yahweh can speed it up and make things happen very quickly. So tell me that doesn't remind you. Oh, and by the way, my asterisk and the things that I pulled for in here, I actually on this, even the most gentle and sensitive man among you will have no compassion. Sociopaths. Okay. And then here where it says, that you will live. In the morning you will say, if only it was evening. In the evening you will say, if only it was morning. I asterisk that as being depression. So that's important stuff. We could go over this some more, but the important thing is you realize and recognize the United States of America and where you're at in the judgment in this country today. So let's go to Leviticus 28. See if I can remember the chapter since I just spoke from it. It's not 28. How did I get that wrong? I screwed up. Huh. I don't believe it. I didn't remember it. I didn't get it right. No, I had the wrong book. No wonder it's Deuteronomy. Okay. As you can see. Okay. And I haven't even covered the 12 curses, but, well, it is. There's 12 curses. I numbered them in this. Okay. Deuteronomy 26. And 27. I should have kept my other Bible open because the proper name of Yahweh is in this Bible and it reads a bit differently. But I actually have in Deuteronomy 27, 12 curses enumerated in particular that go all the way to the end. That's in chapter 26, 27, which I didn't cover. We went to 28 and went through there. And then we went all the way to the end of that. By the way, this was written a long time before before Jerusalem was taken down, and they went to Egypt again in ships. Jeremiah was forcibly removed by the captains thereof, and with the crown princesses, and they finally escaped and got back to Israel. Jeremiah warned them that they would be dying there in Egypt. They'd never come back out. So that was even prophesied, predicted much earlier. We were great when we were good. Right now, I would have to say we're great evil. We're not good. I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is. If you want to recover this country, then we have to do it individually. I don't think that we can rise up and force this Bible on the rest of them. Do you? What do you think? I don't think it works that way. I also think that, I'll repeat what another friend has said many times, Jesus wants volunteers. So he doesn't want people to be forced. He wants volunteers. So Yeshua, the Messiah, wants volunteers. If we can turn this nation into about 5% Bible readers, maybe only 3%, that might be enough right there. But if we hit 5%, then I'm pretty sure that we can exert a great influence on this nation, and maybe Yahweh will change his mind on what he has in mind for us. The nuclear war is in here. It's hands down in here. Biological war is in here. It's in there. People pray to die. It's so bad. So, in case you're wondering, what I read is smallpox. That they actually succeed in weaponizing it, and they actually succeed in getting it out there. Can we change that fate? I think we can. How do we change that fate? Well, we start reading the Bible. We start doing Yahweh's will. We abide by this as best we can. Do we have to be perfect? Well, we really can't be. But we can do good. We can pray to Yahweh for help and guidance and to give us the resources we need to do His will. So if you want to pray for that for me, I'd be happy with that. Thank you for buying the Bible. Those of you who have ordered it up, thank you for the gift. The one gentleman that did that touches my heart. I'm going to do the best I can to give you a video every day. I invite you to join me on the other program, the other channel, Dr. John Taylor Kent, the Dr. Kent Show. I am thinking of commercializing that one to get some funds that way. That's got twice as many viewers as this channel has. I would like to keep this just a Bible study, and I'd rather just sell Bibles, to be honest with you. That's what I want to do. Because when you buy one of these Bibles, I feel very confident that I'm giving you more value than I'm taking. And that's the way I'd like it to be. I want to be able to support myself. That's pretty important. I'm not relying upon this strictly and completely, but in order for me to do the mission that I want to do, I'd like to be able to burn my money, which means putting fuel in this beast and driving it around the country, meeting people and talking to people. I'd like to be able to carry a bit more with me. These things are kind of on the heavy side. I'd like to have a little bit more functionality, bigger kitchen, a little bit more desk, a lot more desk space actually, a reading area, a little bit more closet space, be able to haul books, books and tools. Boy, that's nice, isn't it? Collapsing my words like that. It's not a good indicator, not a good sign. So feel free to pray for me and my health. Keep me strong. I've got a specific mission to do. In case you're wondering, my ancestor oversaw the production of the King James Bible in 1711, and he also wrote the Shakespearean plays. So here I am. I get to bring you the most modern version of the Bible. And what this does is this corrects the errors that Ptolemy II committed when he was translating the Bible from Hebrew into Greek. Now, why did Ptolemy II produce a Greek Bible? Because most of the Israelites by then were in dispersion, and they had been Hellenized, and they spoke Greek, not Hebrew. So in order to make the Bible available to them, it had to be translated. And we're talking about millions of people. You know, we're not talking about We're talking about millions of people. The northern house of Israel had the 10 tribes, and they got some others going with them, and they broke out into the earth. So the ancient classic Greeks were Israelites in dispersion. The Spartans definitely claimed Israelite heritage. Okay, we had, well, as you can tell, there's nothing more I like talking about than the truth that's in the Bible. It's not as it was taught to me in Sunday school when I was a little boy. There's a lot more here, a lot more to it. They gave us misconceptions. I don't think they did us any favors. We have forgotten who we are, and we are in a war. And the evil ones know who they are, and they know who we are. And they have great advantage because of that. They've also used this book. They know it better than you or I do. And I know it better than most of the pastors do. The people that go to the seminaries, they brainwash them too, just like they do in our public schools and everywhere else. I lost a thought that went right through my head. We cannot conduct this war of self-defense without Yahweh. We have been backed into a corner, or we could say we painted ourselves into a corner. We need to become flexible, young in our thinking and our outlook, and consider other perspectives so that we can get the truth from the Bible in particular, and we can avoid being deceived. The worst Bible, the enemy's Bible, from which Pastor Jerry Wickey preached, was the Schofield Reference Study Bible. His copy was produced in 1965, and the headings in it and the little notes in it actually reveal a lot about the evil one's plans. It was given to us by a committee of rabbis who used an attorney named Schofield, a very unethical gentleman who lived in Michigan, who came up with a Schofield Reference Study Bible that had more notes and study and text in it than it did Bible. And they lie in the study notes. They talk about Moses being a Jew. Moses wasn't a Jew. There were no Jews in Moses' time. The Jewish faith did not exist back then. The Jewish faith did not exist until after the Babylonian captivity. And even the Jewish encyclopedia will tell you their religion did not exist until Babylon. So Moses was not a Jew. Hebrew? Yes, we can call him that. He's Hebrew language. Okay, little girl. We've covered a lot of material. I hope it's not been too scattered. I'll do what I can for you. If you've got corrections for me, advice, or anything like that, put it in the comments or send me an email. If you want to get one of the apocryphal books, let the publisher know so we can get about that process. There will become a day of famine for the word of the Lord in this land. That's coming. I'm not looking forward to that. We've been able to have Bibles for quite a while. So the famine that's prophesied on the word of the Lord is coming in the future. I believe. Could be wrong. I'm flexible. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. We don't have to agree on everything. For instance, Noah's flood. Was it worldwide or was it local? Now, I've changed my mind on it. But that's something that we can disagree on. There's no problem with that. And you might enlighten me on things. And that's something I would enjoy. May Yahweh bless Israel. Bless our brothers and sisters in Israel. Share this video with them. Give it a thumbs up. Share it on social media. And if any of you out there has got greenbacks and doesn't know what to do with their money, it's about to go to like no value at all. That's probably not going to happen until about the first week of January, my guess. At some point, they're going to crash this currency and take the value out of it. They have to do that because the world is on to them for their system of slavery and how they took the world over. You see, the richest man in the world into the 20th century was the Tsar of Russia. He owned or controlled approximately 16%. And the richest man in the world into the 21st century, from the year 1999 to 2000, the richest man in the world then was Sir Evelyn de Rothschild, who recently passed away. He owned or controlled approximately 51%. And he did that that family did that in 1 century. So as you can imagine, he didn't inherit it. It wasn't gotten by legal means. It was gotten by theft, graft, and fraud. Yahweh bless.